All right, so here we go. We're going to start part one of our National Parks poster project. It's going to be an actual series, so there's going to be three of these that we're going to start making. This is just part one here, so this is only the very beginning. What we're going to do is take an image like this, and we're going to use the pen tool. We're going to use basic color swatches here to create a breakdown of that landscape into different chunks. And so you'll see like different paths used here along the way, each one assigned a different color. Not a final color. We'll get into finalizing those colors later, but these are the paths that were used to create this kind of breakdown of that landscape. You still get the idea of what it is, still make out the different parts of the landscape, which is very important. And let's get into how to go from this to this for part one. So let's get started here. Okay, so the first step is going to be to start off with Illustrator at home, and you're going to create a new file. And the file we want to have is a letter size, which is 11 by 8.5 inches. And mine says that inches because I have it set as inches over here. So if yours doesn't say that, then make sure yours does say inches right here. The width and the height are all depending on which orientation this is. So my images, and most likely your images, are going to be more in a vertical orientation. So I would choose this one, which swaps the numbers. So instead it's 8.5 inches wide and 11 inches high. Everything here can remain the same. CMYK color for the color mode is what we want, and raster effects, keep that at high, 300 ppi, and that's great quality for printing. So we're going to do a series of these posters, but each one of these series is going to have their own project. So what I'm going to call this up here is National Park 1. Okay, I don't know what the name of this national park is going to be called yet, because I still have to figure that out. We'll make that up later. So I'm going to create this, and this is what I get, right? 11 and a half, or 11 by 8.5. Now what I have to do is insert my image that I want to use here. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Place, and I'm going to locate my image. You should have them saved in your student drive, so make sure you can find that easily. I'm going to use the same image that I used for my example here. So I'm going to choose this one and go to Place. And now it kind of follows my cursor around. I want to put it up here in the top corner where it says intersect. Drop it there. Now, it is a giant photo. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to resize this. I'm going to go down to the corner here. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to zoom this inwards and drop it like that. Okay. Now it's still too big. And that's okay. I can play around with what do I want to show in my landscape or in my project. So I can take this if I want to and slide it over, depending on what it is you want to show. What do you want to leave out? Maybe that tree right there is too much work. Maybe I like the tree. So I'm going to, maybe on this one, maybe I'll do something a little different. Maybe I'll shift it over this way. So I'm going to leave it there. All right. Now I've got this extra bit that's just kind of hanging off the side. I don't want to see that. That's kind of distracting. So to fix that, I'm going to go to View. I'm going to go to Trim View. And everything outside of that box is, or this artboard is blocked off. It's blocked from view, right? And I have my first layer right here all ready to go. I'm going to rename this image and hit enter. I'm going to lock that layer down. I don't want to mess with that. I want that to stay put. I'm going to create a new layer here, and I'm going to call this one Paths, and hit enter. And I'm going to keep working on this layer now, and I'm going to use a pen tool. Pen tool is great for this because I can get real detailed and trace along certain contours of my background. Now this sky, I'm going to start from the back and move my way forward. So the sky is going to be real simple because all I have to do is create a big chunky block that goes across the back. I don't even have to trace exactly around the mountains. I just want to make sure that this is going to be all the way towards the back. Now notice I have a white fill on this. And even though it looks like it is finished, I need to go up here and make my cursor see that little circle there. It tells me I have a closed path. So I'm going to click on that. I have a closed path here, which is fine. My sky chunk right here looks white. I don't like that. So I can go here, and with this still selected, I can change this color to something else. So this color, it's sky. I can keep it as white for now. I'm going to go, actually the colors don't really matter on this. So I'm actually just going to use these colors right here, or these shades. You can choose whatever you want. As long as you can tell one part from the other, that's all that really matters. So I've got that chosen there. That looks fine. What I'm going to do now is I can open this up and I can see, oh, there's my sky. If I turn that off, I can still see my regular picture. So I'm going to work from the back. The sky is about as far back as I can go, and I'm going to move my way forward. So I'm still on this layer here. This time I'm going to choose my mountains. This mountain layer section right here is going to be my next part that I'm going to focus on. So I'm going to go to properties. This time I'm going to change my color right away and choose my next color, which is that down the line. And I'm going to create a new path right on top of my last one. So with this selected, I'm going to get in here and start to create my path. And I'm going to click on this outline, and this is where you can use your skills with the pen tool, and you can outline everything as you need to. Now notice that this path has a stroke on it. I don't necessarily want a stroke on this, so I'll change that later, and we'll decide later if I want to add a stroke or not. Now there's a lot of details here I'm going to leave off. It's not really important in my picture. The style that we're going for is going to be kind of a simplified, stylized look. So a lot of this doesn't have to be super exact, but I do want to give the impression that this is a mountain range. And I'm going to continue this path until I finish. All right, so I made my way to the other side of my landscape here. So here it is. Now it looks kind of wonky because I've got fill that's on top, fill that's on the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is I've outlined that contour. Now the next step is to block this down to here. So it includes all of that part of the mountain that I want it to include on that chunk. I'm going to go to the very end here and hit that anchor point, and now I have that finished. What I don't like about it though is that it's got that stroke on it, so I'm going to turn the stroke off. I'm going to keep the stroke off for all of mine as I create this. So now if I go back to my layers and I double check what this all looks like, now I've got, I've got my sky, I've got my mountain range. Next one, I'm going to keep adding on to it. So I'm going to add my next layer of mountain range on there, and I'm going to hide these layers so I can see it better. And this one I'm going to outline maybe like this greener kind of mountain part in the back. Okay, so I'm going to divide this up into another section right here. Actually, what I could do, I might make an adjustment. Maybe I want all of this to be one section and then the greener parts to be another section. So let's take a look here and see what I have. So if I need to make an adjustment to this, what I can do is use my direct selection tool, grab an anchor point and drag it down to make it fill up more space. Okay, so it's easy adjustment to make. Now turn it off. I'm going to begin my next pattern, or my next chunk, my next path right here. Oops, but you know what I want to do first is choose my next color so my colors don't mix up. Go right down the line, and I'm going to follow this path right here. Like this can be something pretty simple. Like that. Okay, that's a pretty simple little chunk there. Now I'm going to take a look. Okay, looks like a good little chunk. I'm going to do the other one on the other side. This is going to be another color. It's a different chunk, so I'm going to make it a different layer. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool, use my properties, change this to the next little color here, go back to this. I'm going to outline this chunk right here on this side. I'm going to trace this and keep on going down the line. So notice that the most important things, because we're doing this in little chunks and layers, the most important thing is that you, what am I going to say? Is that you follow the contours of your image, then go back and what the bottom part looks like doesn't really matter. In fact, I'm getting too specific with that. I'm just going to chunk it all the way down. I don't know why I'm tracing on the bottom. I'm just going to go like this and keep it simple. And I'm going to go up to the top and click that. And now I've got another chunk that I've created here, and I can double check and make sure everything's looking right. Yeah, I'm seeing the layers. It's showing up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to keep building up on this and adding more and more chunks to this background. If I run out of colors, I'll just use other colors instead. So the colors, like I said, don't really matter right now. It's just ways that you can see the different chunks and layers in your scene. So I'm going to continue doing my thing. I'm going to probably chunk this little lighter area here. As far as the trees go, I'm going to group all the trees into a big chunk. I'm going to keep that looking the same because it doesn't matter that I have a bunch of different trees. This is going to look very simple. If I want to add more details later, that's another step down the line. So, and then I'm going to add another chunk for the water, and then these things up in the front part of this landscape. So I'm going to take some time and do that and be back when I'm done. Okay, so here's a little update on layers and things that I have added on here so far. I can see the breakdown of my landscape, and it looks great. I've got shoreline, I've got this here. These two things, it was kind of difficult to decide what's going to be on top, what's going to be on the bottom. Honestly, they could probably go either way. And so if I took one and moved it over the other, it makes a little difference, but I kind of like the shoreline showing over it. My next problem or next issue that I have is dealing with major things like this up in the front, big objects. So this could happen, and you might have to get a little bit more detailed than some of the other parts, which is fine. It's going to improve the look of it in the end. And so what I want to do is use my pen tool, and for this, it's going to be a lot of details I'm going to need to see without a fill. And so I'm going to create a path without a fill or a stroke, and I'm going to create my outlines for this tree right here. So it's kind of a pine tree, and it is going to take a little bit of work, but it's fine. All I'm doing is tracing, so it's not that big of a deal. And in the grand scheme of things, it could be worse. I could be doing calculus, I guess. So here I go, and I'm just going to continue outlining. Now, this is the reason I'm doing this is because if I had a fill applied to this, it gets really confusing because I don't know. Sometimes my lines are covering up what I want to trace, and so it gets in the way when the fill kind of hides the things that I need to see. And so as I'm creating this, it can get a little frustrating because I can't tell where my outlines are on some of these objects, especially when the fill completely covers what it is I'm supposed to outline. So I like to keep it off for that reason and then fill it later on some objects. So I'm going to continue this and nearly finished. AI kind of did a weird job with this image right here, so I'm just going to try the best I can and make a chunk down here that is going to be for my tree. I went way down here because I want this all to be just one solid kind of chunk. So I've got that done. Now that I've got it finished and I've closed the loop, I'm going to go through here and add my color back in. And let's take a look and see how things are looking with all of the layers turned on. Back this out and take a closer look. I like that there's something up front, up close. Kind of makes it look nice. Adds to the depth since there's kind of a good foreground, middle ground, and background. I might even decide to do something with this little tree up in the front too. So, and that I can probably make part of the same group rather than create a whole new path, make it the same color as well. So that is a basic breakdown of how you're going to trunk your landscape into different sections like this. I can still see the landscape. I still see the major parts of it. This is great for the next part, which is going to be going in and adding details and shadows and maybe some individual little things in your landscape. So this is part one. You're doing these steps right here with 3 of your posters or images that you created using AI. So give that a try, and we'll see you in the next step.